Hey guys, it's Avengel. Welcome back to the channel, and we're here in Connemara in Ireland because we're taking a look at a plane that came out actually a week or so ago. But I've only just gotten to do this because of a stupid mistake that I will tell you during this video, because if I can make it, so can you. Okay? So, we're here in Connemara in Ireland in the Angarda Síochána livery on the BlackBox Simulation's BN-2 Islander. And we'll get off the camera there because it keeps going into the building. And we'll go outside, take a look around. But this is not a normal Islander. No, this is technically the Defender, a military or strategic variant of the aircraft. And as you'll notice, the engines are a little different. Those are turboprops. Yes. Now, this version is a turboprop-equipped variant of the Islander, built by the factory. And this one in particular here, the BN-2T, the Defender. The original Defender had piston engines, of course. And the new variant has turboprops. And those are Allison 250 B-17Cs. Can seat up to 9. And I believe even the RAF, or Army ones, or the RAF ones, sorry, now the CC2, is equipped with those. And that's the Islander AL1 there, and the CC2, CC2A for the Royal Air Force. The Army has the AL1, sorry. There's the Maritime. Now, we get a couple of variants in this version here from the guys at BlackBox. And now we have Civilian, Maritime, Special Mission, Defender, Military and Police, and the Airborne Early Warning Astor concept. Now, I'll show you these now as we're talking through this stuff. There's a really cool version, including the Astor kind of early warning one, which is rather interesting. And 25 liveries here, including white ones for repaints. Now, it is designed to work with the PMS 750 system. Now, you can download it for free, or you can use the premium version, but it does require the free one. Now, the exterior models, of course, are reproduced from detailed blueprints, etc., etc., underwing stores, camera turrets, everything. Sadly, the camera doesn't work, unfortunately. Engine covers, tie downs, and chocks, and all sorts, and there is a full tutorial flight PDF included. I would have liked to have a separate actual instruction manual separate to a tutorial, but that's personal preference. Okay? Now, the actual thing itself, with the turboprop one, obviously different performance to the civilian model. Its biggest difference, of course, rather than being flight speed, which in case of the civilian model, I should say, is around 150 knots. Similar, but in this case, you are getting a lot more thrust and a lot more stopping capabilities. So, we're going to go inside here. We're going to go out to the Aran Islands. Why? It's a bit of a craggy island run. I'm feeling Father Teddy today. So we're going to do just that. So, I'll tell you through my mistake in a second when we do this, but even my props set there. Make sure my fuel's set in the right place, of course, because things get a little bit sketcho. I think these need to be set all the way back there, sorry. So let me just do that now. There we go. Feather and cut off fuel. So our checklist for this will run down to, in fact we can pull it up here. In fact we've got some other bits to look at with the black box tab that gets installed. Now as you'll see here we have got our pylons. We can turn things off there. We put recce pods in there. The camera can be on the side, so we'll have a quick look outside there. Close this off. Then we can put the reconnaissance pods on the wings, which is quite a nice, cool system to have on there. Camera mounted side on there rather than to the nose. So depending on the variant that uses whatever, you can have that equipped. Rather neat to include that as well. Let's get back on here. So we can put it on or not or whatever. Now we can put the covers, we can put prop ties on. Put everything on there. We'll put the rescue pods back on again. We'll put drop tanks on as well. We'll go back inside here. All the bits and bobs are on now. Chocks, covers, all the usual bits and gubbins that people want on their aircraft. I quite like that inclusion. Now, BlackBox does a great job with exterior modelling, and the one area I will criticise them is their interior texturing. I could always prefer it to be more. I'd love it to be more. Door controls, of course, here. On the interior. You can open most of the doors from the inside of the click swap, but closing them, it requires finding it and or using the page. So I would have preferred that myself, but it is what it is. Now, exterior modelling and texturing isn't bad. I do quite like it. Exterior-wise, it's plenty. Ignore my German registration. more than sufficient on the exterior. More than happy with that. Interior, would have preferred to see more, because I just don't think it's there. We'll have a proper look around in a second once I get the doors all closed. Put that interlock on. Our checklist are all here, by the way. We'll follow that in a second. But interior-wise, it's alright. But it's nothing to write home about. That is my major criticism. It's nothing to write home about. It's okay, but it could be more. Okay? That's my criticism out of the way. So let's go to our checklist here. Now, you can have those in the tablet, obviously, or you can have it here. So in this case, battery on. That is on. Inverters to go on. These are our inverters at the top there, so they're on. Make sure our generators are off. Doors are locked and closed. Interlock is set. Select left engine starter switch to on. Igniters fuels to off. Check for audible warning. So igniters are off there. Not getting that. So fuel is off. That might be me. Parking brake is on. Confirm there, right here. Of course, all our circuit breakers do work. The one thing I will say about these guys is everything is working as it should be. When it comes to the BlackBox Simulation aircraft, they do function properly. So I'll give them that. Okay. So everything looks right here. External supply needs to go on. Down there. That has to be on. Even when the air restart. Not sure why, but there you go. And flight controls are free and clear. Yeah, everything is good to go there. Flaps will operate. Those are okay. So condition levels of fuel or feather. Fuel off feather. That's correct. Ignition switches to on. They are on. Generator switches are off, and we'll start right. And you'll start to see that thing turning in a second, and I'll tell you what I did wrong here. What I did wrong with this fine aircraft was I have hardware switches for my generators and my alternators. My hardware switch was on. Whilst a lot of aircraft in the sim, in fact a lot of aircraft in real life, will let you start the engines with the generator switched on, you physically can't start this aircraft with the generator switched on. It is not physically possible. So if your generator switch is enabled on a hardware switch somewhere, it will not turn on. Our stuff is coming up. Is it? It is, so we'll give it some gas. That should have been what it wanted. Oh, fuel pumps, those probably help. Boom. There it goes, it catches. Now it has a fuel system going through it. I do love to miss a good step, don't I? Yep, there goes the blades. Now that's spinning. We'll let that come up and then we should be good. But yes, cannot be started with the thing off. Physically cannot be started with the generators on. So make sure those are definitely switched off on any hardware. I had to email the guys back and find out about this. This is why my review is late. That's my fault. It's because I had to basically work that out. Because a hardware switch was set to on when it shouldn't have been on by Bravo. So that is unfortunately a me problem. Cool, that's started. So we'll go right generator on. Notice the amps load change there. Voltage is good. So left is coming up here. Pumps are on for main tanks. Right engine's looking good. Not a long flight today. Like I said, we're heading over to the Aran Islands. Ostensibly Craggy Island. We'll get to play with some of the tools and toys on this today. Now these are really cool here. These Garmin units that are actually set here. These are fantastically well developed because these are full little full-on Garmin units. And I forget the exact model here, but I will find it out for you right now. Avionics. So we have the Garmin GMC 500 Flight Director and Autopilot system. We have a set of Collins ProLine ComNav Pulse radios. And the Garmin GI 275 ADI and HSI. So those are the Garmin GI 275s. And I've not seen these in other sim aircraft before. So these are super cool. Because I can set everything I want to set in this aircraft. Heading? Oh, I don't know. Let's set a heading over 180. We'll enter that as our set heading now. So that is our set heading for autopilot. Let's pull the actual this on now. The left engine is in the right place. Boom, there that goes. Let's just start our wee beastie spinning. There we go. She's biting. Fantastic. Generator to on, and we're good to go. But now, even down here, see that's translated across to here now. It's actually set in the heading there. We can set things with our rotary controls, or we can type it in, which is just fantastic. You can click it, type it, course, CDI, GPS mode. We can set those too, localizer and GPS. Everything is controllable, and I love how this all works. It's a cool little tool, and a really unique option to have in a GE aircraft, because it gives you so much, you know, proviso for space, which is cool. Okay, so everything's coming up and looking good right now. Everything is set to where it needs to be here. External power is going to go off, and we're ready to taxi. So, head switched on. We'll get ourselves out to the runway here at Connemara. There we go. It's off to our side there. We're the guard delivery today, so we're off on a patrol looking for runaway priests on Craggy Island. Seems like a fairly appropriate mission for us today. Given wind direction, we're taking off to the north. There we go. When it's set to ground or idle down there, it's a very, very gentle aircraft in terms of how it's going to behave. In terms of ground handling, that's something I really like. A lot of turboprops can get very runaway. This does not. So takeoff setting for flaps. Full power on the props. Okay, don't mind me looking away from the screen for a second there. Should be no trouble whatsoever. And we're rocking. Airspeed's alive. Slight touch of a crosswind, but it's not going to be the end of the world for us. 60 is coming up. And 70, and we can rotate. Haul this pig off the ground. She's not a graceful aeroplane, but she's one that will work. And work she shall. Must say, it does look good in its own way. Alright, give it some trim for the nose up. We'll pull the power back here. We'll get ourselves on course, not particularly troublesome. She's very heavy on the controls, but she is quite like that. All the islanders tend to be. And there's our target right over there. Super simple, right there. Those are the 3 islands we're heading to. Inishir, Inishman, and Inishmore. Nice and easy. Literally 10 miles away from the first one. We're right there. A couple of touch and goes. We'll have 1600 feet, 1700 feet, and 1900 feet. So we should be absolutely no problem whatsoever for this aircraft. So, again, textures, the panel at least could be improved. I think that would be a big area to see an improvement, which is a simpler task to achieve. Maybe matte out the glare shield, because I have seen pictures of the real ones. They do look a lot more matte. Other stuff looks okay. It's just a bit shiny in places. I'd like to see it a bit more matte. And whilst they are fairly rugged, simple aircraft, I think areas like the sidewalling material could be possibly improved even. But again, it's a very utilitarian aircraft. It's very simple in real life. They are very plain. So it's hard to criticize that fully because it's accurate to a large extent. Oh, by the way, boom, boom, boom. And we'll go nav mode engaged. What altitude do we want? Let's pick 2,000 feet. Okay. And we'll go to our... Everything's functioning because that's a stock servo component here. Working just fine, although the heading track selection is actually quite nice there to have that as a feature. Same with altitude select. Not really much to do with it because it's 6 miles away. We're basically here. So quite a few variants we've had of Islanders from black box, and I love the Islander. It's a great aircraft in real life. We've got the Islander, we've got the Trilander, and they've been really cool. And in terms of actual aircraft they've put out, they've been really well made. I've really enjoyed it as an aircraft. The turboprop is the Islander, but with more, which is really hard to turn down. You know, it's something I already like with extra. So I already know it's a known quantity. If you already have this, it's good. Although I do think, if I'm going to be giving you the fairest opinion I possibly can, it is €34 for purchase, and the flight dynamics and turboprop behaviours are all very accurate to what they've said here, of course. We've got the cool stuff, we've got the cool equipment, and I think it's not a cheap price, but it's also not insane, but it's certainly not cheap. Now, to me, being that it's another variant of something you've already got, you could argue that that is not a great price. However, it is definitely going to be something you'd have to consider if you want to fly this as well. Okay, we're actually on target now, so I'm going to disengage this. If you enjoy the aircraft, obviously it's something you'd want to have, and I think it's something that's well worth having if you like the other Islanders. Is it a little bit much given that it's a variant of something we already have? Possibly. That's an argument to be made, and for credit, I was sent a copy of this aircraft by the developer. I want that to be clear. I do think it's a little pricier than it could be. Obviously, a lot of development goes into how this works in terms of its turboprop simulation. A lot goes into how the aircraft behaves, and amazing new features like these Garmin avionics, of course, in the cockpit. Obviously, that's the PMS, but this is a fantastically cool inclusion that I've not seen other developers actually use. People go straight for the G5. Here we are, over in Ischia. Lots and lots of stone walls and fields all over this island. It's covered in the darn things, and largely uninhabited apart from one village. Where do you think they get the craggy island things from? Turn around out here, and then we'll come back in. Not the best pattern, but we'll call it a day. Again, I think it is slightly steep, but I could make a number of arguments why it's a good price or valid price, because a lot of development does go into these aircraft, and it's certainly something that they could find a justification to. I've seen a justification to, and I absolutely think it could be worth it. Now, will we see this come through into FS 2024? I haven't had a solid answer off that. I suspect the answer will be yes with it coming this close, especially with the images on their site showing the details of the actual air movement around the engines. I think that's a very realistic proposition. So watch this space. Definitely going to be one of those things. Now, where's the island? There it is. I'm bodging this because I'm talking too much. I'm trying to look at details here. Well off track. We'll try and do a better job at the next landing. This one's already a hash job, but I specialise in hash jobs, so we should be fine. Transitioning to full flaps there. We're actually going to be just fine for this. The thing's a brick, so it loses speed very rapidly. And obviously just switching out the engines from piston to turboprop is a massive change to the aircraft. Especially when you consider the early warning variant, and you consider this variant versus the BN-2T, the Islander with turboprops. This, the Defender, is a different aircraft. It's longer, it's bigger, it flies differently. And that's, of course, a big difference in how it's going to behave. So, it is not simply re-engined and sold as a whole new package. You have new avionics, you have entirely new systems in this aircraft, and you do have systems depth. There are not failures, but there is absolutely systems depth. And the one thing I've seen consistency from BlackBox Simulations is that systems depth is always faithful to the real aircraft. They are study level. Okay. Little bit sway here on my approach. That's me causing some oscillation. Okay. Little more power on here. Just a smidge. Nose down, power back to idle. No problemo there. Nice and easy. In fact, we can go for a straight touch and go off the end here, I think. Although probably best off if I turn around. I could do this a bit more. One engine up here to get turned. There we go. So yeah. I mean, I'm trying to basically run through my logic with you here in this video as to why I think the price is both good and bad. Could you have a discount if you have other versions? Yes. That would be a great idea. I think that would be a great idea. But it is also justifiable at the same time. It's one of those things. Fans of niche aircraft like this will be willing to go for the variants. That's an important factor. Now, if you're trying to decide which of the Islanders to purchase, if you are a new purchaser of the BN-2 product, and you want to know which one is probably the best one to go for, I'd say either go for the Classic or go for this. This is going to have much more grunt in terms of landing capabilities and payload. But the original BN-2 Island is a classic. It's a really well-made classic. Although I will say the instrumentation in this one is a lot nicer. Build quality and simulation quality of all are the same. There we go. Let's see how steep she can get on this takeoff here. Like a rocket ship. Look at this thing. This is the power getting off these turboprops here. Even powering back there. Look at this thing. This is just going up, 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 up. There's the harbour. And the little village. Yeah. This thing is absolutely jumping into the air. In fact, we're so close to our next arrival. Here it is. We're not even going to pull the flaps up. We're just going to swing ourselves over onto an approach path. It'll be still a bit further once we get to Inish. And you know what? Actually, this has got a grass runway. It's 1,300 feet. We'll do that first, shall we? So we'll pull the flaps in. We'll go recce where the grass runway is. Because this is our 1533 asphalt runway there. We should have 0523 for our grass. So we'll overfly and we'll take a look. Work out what that is, and we'll come around for an approach. A little more room here on Inishman. Very excellent hand flyer, I will say. This aircraft does fly nicely in the pilot's hand. So there's our grass runway. It's directly cross with the asphalt there. So 1,700 feet of asphalt, 1,300 feet of grass. So that's the Badger right there. Should we go give that a slap? We're going to go give this a good old slap. Now, shout out to Two-Tone Murphy. I am in his stomping ground, of course, in Ireland. But seeing as Mr. Averangel upstairs Irish, I think I've got the right to fly here. So, we'll bring this around and we'll come around for our approach. Again, power back to idle, flight idle. This thing absolutely just slows down like a brick. It's a very draggy aeroplane. So this is why you're not going to get much difference. A bit like having a Turbo Beaver or a Turbo Otter. You don't tend to see a huge difference in terms of performance with that turboprop conversion other than takeoff and landing capability. Alright. A little bit over tight there on the turn. So there's our airport buildings. We should be able to turn right to here shortly, so let the nose go down. Catch a bit of wind here, in fact, so we'll start a turn now. Flaps to full. She's coming in a little quicker than I'd like. The flaps are helping to slow us down. I'm getting turned a bit to the right. The wind's catching me slightly here, so we'll give it a bit of a slip just to bring her down. There's the runway. Wind's getting a bit more interesting. That concrete pad's the start of our grass runway. We'll land just beyond that, because I don't want to be landing on it. It's a nice marker. Well, it might actually benefit us to land on it, so... Oopsie daisy. Not reverse this time, I'll just hold it tight. I was going to go into reverse, but I'll hold it here. No problemo. Nice and easy. Now, one thing I do like is little things like that. That's the nuances we get with BlackBox Simulations products. Tiny little things like the moving cables are super cool. You don't tend to see it in all aircraft that get released, and I like to see it when I see it, so it is nice to see that sort of thing included. Let's get back taxied here. It is downhill this way, so I am taking off uphill, but that's almost on purpose for me right now, because I want to see what this will do. Only a short hop to the next one. There it is. It's our concrete pad. So we're going to set up on here, and we're going to do a uphill takeoff with 1,300 feet and see what this thing can do. Okay, full power. Full props. Flaps are coming up initially. Power's at full and releasing. 1 and a 2 and controls fall back into my stomach. Hold that back. Pull the nose up. Come on, piggy. Up we get. Up we get. That's it. Hold back. Hold back. Hold back. Nose down. Flaps up. Build speed. So in just about 1,200 feet there, with uphill, by the way, 1,200 feet uphill, I pulled this thing off the runway. So that's not with much load. We are arguably light right now, but that's still a pretty capable takeoff from an aircraft this size. So our main tanks are mostly full, actually, so our fuel tanks are relatively full. Oh no, we are fully loaded. We have full passengers and baggage. Never mind, that's really impressive. So considering what we just did there, 1,300, 12 to 1,300 feet uphill, and we got this thing off the ground. That is really impressive. That in terms of payload capability is really where this thing shines over the regular Islander. It's an absolute dog of getting off the ground. Like that didn't want to leave, but when it left, it stayed up. I didn't have any kind of irritation or complaining from it when I got into ground effect and put the nose up. It just did exactly what I wanted, and it did it right. So I'm really actually impressed with that. And this is Inishmore. Runway 32 and 14, 1,900 feet, so it should be nice and gentle for us. And I do like the Defender variant, actually. It's a sleeker look. It's almost like the look you get from the Trilander, but the twin engine. And it almost like, because the Islander, the BN-2T with turboprops looks a little bit stumpy for them. Whereas this looks about the right size for 2 turboprops. Like this has actually got very good utility to it. There's our airport down there. So we'll go down and we'll do a pattern here. Pull that power out. Idle that out for now. Props are going to go there. Here's the little harbour. Down at Inishmore. You thought I was going to fly at Donegal, didn't you? It's one of our standard places to fly because it's one of the handcrafted airports in Ireland. But no, not Donegal again. Let's have some atmosphere, shall we? Nice and loud! Nothing like having a prop screaming inches from your head. Power on. Flaps to take off, stage 1. There's the strip. We'll go just past the headland here, and you can enjoy some of these sounds, because the sounds are also rather nice. That's a lot of disc spinning right next to my face. Imagine sitting just behind this. Let's see how short we can land this time, hey? Let's make this spicy. I'm up for a challenge. Full flaps. Turning base. Dropping the nose here. Let's go to beta in the air. Let's really slow down. Whoa, hello. Okay, back to idle. Ooh, she wanted to drop there. We're going to try and land as short as possible here. Pull out a spit round. Props are full fine. Everything else is good. Configured for landing. We're going to go superhero mode with this touchdown. About 80 knots, a bit fast. How about we hit the brakes and they'll fly right by, huh? $70, slowing down. And into beta. Idle. Whoa, whoa, hang on. Stop. No. I just rolled forwards there because I went to the drone camera. But that's what we just used. Before we rolled because of the stupid brakes not being on in drone camera, we were still on the actual stripes. So we basically touched down in the displaced, yes, admittedly. We touched down in the displaced and we ended up on the stripes. That's a couple of 100 feet. This thing's disgusting. I love it. And it was very heavy. Like, it feels weighty on the controls. This is definitely a challenge to fly, and it's interesting to fly. That's for sure. Captain Whiskers is not bothered by the sound. I, however, am. Okay, that's probably why, so let's get this down to ground idle, shall we? We'll pull in here to park. Whew. Is it worth 35 euros? If you want a really cool bush plane that's got some real versatility and a bunch of different variants here, with 3 major and 6 sub-variants, plus the avionics options in here, the flight handling being really well made, really good landing and takeoff capabilities, extremely rugged in terms of how it's actually built and what it can do. If you want an aircraft that is very unique, and not the usual stable of aircraft we tend to see in the simulator, yes. If you are just looking for another aircraft to add to your fleet of aircraft that happens to be a bit unique, and you already have the Islander, maybe not. But that's a personal choice. It could be better on the texture front. I think it's always my criticism with BlackBox Simulations. And again, they sent me this and they've sent me the other products. I will say that opinion. It is my opinion only. It's not a fact, it's just my view. I think it's the one thing that lets them down. But I do think it's worth the price. I certainly enjoyed this thing a lot. Thanks for watching.